sing.
Worship. So stand on your feet with me. Hallelujah. We worship. Amen. Amen.
During those 7 weeks, I try to be in the house as much as I'm permitted after my duties at home has been taken care of. So one of my efforts was coming to fasting at 11 a.m. on a Monday. And the Lord started to minister this word to me. On one of the weeks that I was here. By the way, if you don't know, signs and wonders happen here on Monday mornings at 11 a.m. Amen. There are real women of God here praying and seeking the face of God, and God shows up and shows His approval. So when I was asked to speak at youth camp, so God, this must be for youth camp. So I was studying and stuff like that, and about 4 a.m. before I preached, not 4 a.m., like about 1 a.m. before I preached, I was tossing and turning in the hotel room, and I wish I could say that the Lord awoken me, but the Lord didn't. Leah wasn't sleeping on his arm, so I couldn't sleep. So when I just began to pray over the message and pray over some people in the church and everything, and I just believe that God wanted me to share the meat of the message with the church. And when I didn't share like the whole message at youth camp, and I had a couple of youth camp attendees tell me that this message should not just be a waste for you. You need to preach this again. And this was Sarah and the Williams sisters. And while I'm talking about the youth at youth camp, we had some wonderful youth that went to youth camp with me. Being a chaperone is very, very easy. I didn't have to work too hard, try too hard to do anything. And one thing I really admired was, I admired everybody, but the Williams sisters stand out. And Zoe is the definition of a big protector. Forget a sister, a big protector. Zoe didn't allow Kayla to go within 2 inches of her at any time at all. Every single thing. We were at Dorney Park and Kayla went to go change. After Zoe went to go change, and she came back and found that we were there waiting for Kayla. She went back to the changing room to go wait for her right there. We went on rides where there was nobody at all but us. Everyone had a seat for themselves. Zoe hitched Kayla right there. And that's really admirable. I mean, that's how I want Leah to take care of Aria. And that's really something to be proud of, Zoe. Great job. So youth camp was really, really good in bonding with the kids and just doing everything with them. When you see them around church and everything, you see them on the Sunday morning or Sunday night or even a Friday, you don't really know them. But once you get like in a small group outside of their regular settings with him, now you begin to see things that you didn't see before. And all of them, Sarah, Stephen, Zoe, and Kayla, Jeremiah, and Tajay, they all did very, very, very well.
Praise
Now
God.
let's transition into the message. If you can stand with me, I'll be reading from Genesis chapter 15, verses 6 to 16. And it reads, "And he believed in the Lord, and he counted unto him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur and out of the Chaldeans, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against one another. But the birds he divided not." Somebody says, "But the birds he divided not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Somebody say 400 years.
400 years.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again." Somebody say fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
"For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full." Father, we bless you this morning, God. We honor you. Father, we thank you for what's taking place here so far, God. God, we know that you are here, Lord. We know that you approve of everything that's taking place in here today, Father. So God, I pray, God, as you, God, lead me, God, to deliver this word to your people, Lord. That I may decrease, Lord, as you increase. And Father, let your word fall on saturated ground today, God, in the name of Jesus. Lord, prepare the hearts of your people to receive from you today. In Jesus' name. Amen. The title of the message today is Chosen with Responsibility. And before I start, Auntie Faye, welcome back. I missed you. And I also have a special shout out before I was ever Reverend Chevanne James, before I was even a teenager. I had a #1 fan, and that's my cousin, DeAndrea Watson. Thank you for coming on today. Hey, man, how you doing? So, chosen with responsibility. Our gifts are not for our own enticing. They were given up to us by God to bless other people.
That's right.
In other words, they were given to us to complete the Great Commission,
Yes.
which is to enlarge the kingdom of God.
Amen.
My gifts aren't for me. Someone else was given gifts to add me to the kingdom.
Amen.
Hello, somebody. I'm married today because my wife had a gift of singing. That's not the only reason why, but that sure is a reason why. You know, but 11 years ago, when I moved back here from Georgia, and I came into Paterson Church of God on a 4th Sunday in June, and I heard Shanice sing a solo. That's it. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even living right. I just heard her sing. And I said, if they have young people in this church that can sing that good, I'm coming back next week. And here I am, 11 years later. But it wasn't the message that Pastor Scott preached on that Sunday. It was the fact that I heard Shanice sing. And I love music. I love worship. So you know what? Let me come back here. So her gift brought me back to this church. You see, I've had conversations with people, local people, and also other people, about feeling disconnected. They feel disconnected even when they're able to operate in their gifts. I'm still able to play the guitar or even play the drums, or Brother Dixon's still able to play the keyboard. Shanice, my wife, all the singers, you're able to minister, but you still feel empty. And yet, when we minister, the crowd still reacts. The crowd still worships. The presence of the Lord is still here. But the way we're feeling is contrary to what we're actually witnessing. That exemplifies that your gift is not for you. You see, God, you didn't do anything to earn that gift. That gift was given to you. So it's not given for you. So the mere fact that you're able to operate is not a sign that God is with you. Tasha Cobb posted something a while back when she was saying how she traveled the country, and she would go to service after service and concert after concert, and people will be in the altar slain in the spirit and just worshiping. And then she'll go back to the hotel room contemplating suicide. She was so empty. She had no relationship. She'll be slitting herself. She even mentioned about, I would get tattoos because the pain of tattoos will try to try to take the pain away from me. But she's one of the top gospel artists, and we love her. We sing her song of worship when she sings, but she was contemplating killing herself. You see, I saw something on the internet some years back. She was just a pizza box. The pizza box only used is carrying the pizza. The box can't be eaten. It can't be eaten. But the box is there to keep the pizza warm to feed somebody else. The pizza is not for the box, because the box is a dead being. The pizza is the only thing that's alive. Oh, that's a word right there by itself. The pizza is the only thing that's alive in here.
Amen.
Like I said, the Bible says the gifts of God is without repentance.
Amen.
Which means God does not take it back.
Amen.
So our ability to operate in those gifts while living like hell is not an affirmation that God is with us.
Amen. That's right.
You see, leaders of the church and even local laymen, we become feeding to gifts.
Yes.
Somebody come and they could preach good, and even me. Y'all know if I'm living right. Y'all can see me play the bass drums and preach.
That's right. That's right. Come on.
You know what I'm doing when the doors are closed. How am I treating my wife? How am I treating my kids? How am I treating the people around me? We don't know any of that stuff. But we have become fiend to gifts.
That's right.
That person could preach, put them up there. Make them the evangelist of the church. That person can sing, make sure they sing every Sunday. That person can play, make sure they are playing every Sunday. Because we're just so fiend to the gifts.
That's right. Amen. Amen. You're preaching.
But we have people that's operated in the gifts with no relationship.
Yes.
And having no relationship is like a gateway drug. Because no relationship will lead to no conviction.
That's right. Come on.
And when you have a gift with no relationship and no conviction, there's one word for that: reprobation.
Amen. All right.
But I'm here to tell you something today. I'm here to tell you that God is not caught by surprise by the thing that He has given to us for free.
That's right.
It was His already.
Yes.
Before He given us this. So every good thing that can come from that thing He knows. So He's not surprised. So we have to get into that mode where, as leaders, because we are responsible for the church. The Bible says, pray for the pastor because he's responsible for your soul. And everybody that's under the pastor is responsible for the souls of people that are under them.
Amen.
So this is the approach that we need to. T.D. Jakes said it best. He said when he found out that he was in trouble, he got goosebumps from a Whitney Houston secular song, and it was the same type of goosebumps he got from church songs.
Come on now. Wow.
Yeah, Whitney Houston. It was like, something is wrong here. It's not an affirmation that God is with us. I know I'm probably going to step on some toes here. Beyonce's gifts were given to her by God.
That's right. Come on. Yes.
And because it was given to her freely, she could choose whatever she wanted to do with it.
That's right.
So because it was a gift by God, whether she's singing for God or not, she's still able to draw people. Because that's what the gift was given to her for.
Yes. Yes.
people all over. Whether it's good influence or bad influence, guess what? That's an influential gift from God. So whatever you do, you are going to have followers.
Yeah, that's right. Come on now.
You're preaching.
Amen.
So we have to, I mentioned it before about gift fiends, and I was the same thing. I mean, everyone, especially when you just get saved and everything, everybody have a process where you get to a certain level of maturity. Because you're constantly growing. Anything that's not growing is dying. Nothing stands still.
Yes.
You're either going up or down.
That's right.
We just get caught up by these gifts, and there are gifts without relationships, which is the highway to hell. We have some parents. I mean, I wasn't raised in a godly home. Anything about God, I initiated myself, and I initiated that because I was scared to die. And I needed a hope. I needed a reason to live.
Come on.
But you have parents where their number one thing is friendship with their kids.
Yes.
But mine is 2 years old. So I have about 12 more years before I start seeing some attitudes or something. But God, as for me and my house, if friendship comes while I'm holding a standard for God, so be it. But friendship is not my number one priority. I am able to sleep at night.
Yes.
Regardless of what decision my kids make. Yeah, I'm a love. Nothing can change my love for my child. I love my child unconditionally. But I'm able to sleep at night because I not only taught a standard, I live a standard.
Amen.
That's my aim. I'm not quite there yet. But even now, it starts now.
Yes. Amen.
When we're chosen, God gives us gifts because it's a necessity in terms of carrying out His orders, which is essential, as I mentioned, in fulfilling the Great Commission. So because you have free will with your gift, you can do with it whatever you want to, and you can also operate at a high level. But there comes a time when the wrath of God kicks in.
Yes.
You see, God doesn't share His glory with anyone else.
Yes.
And using His gifts outside of His will is sharing His glory with the
Yes.
rest.
Yes.
And that's a dangerous place to be.
Amen.
That's a place where you're outside the protection of the Almighty God. That's a place where Job's children were. That's a place where Samson was at one point. That's a place where Solomon was at one point. That's a place where, listen to this, anointed King Saul was at one point. Anointed. Not only called and gifted, but anointed king.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to be outside of the protection of God.
Amen.
You see, when I used to live in Savannah, Georgia, I was in this gang called SOTG, means stay out of the garbage, which is ironic because we're always in garbage. So like, if we're at a party or anything, at the mall, at the park, playing ball, at the gym, anything, I have liberation to talk trash and do whatever I want to. Because my homeboys got me, he ain't no one-on-one. Speaking of that, if somebody approached me right now, he's swinging. My homeboys got me. So I can talk trash all I want to because I know I have that backing. It's the same thing when you're under the will of God and under the will of God for your life. You can talk trash to the devil all you want to because you know that God got you. You can stand on the word of God and stand on the promises and stand on what's right because then you will have the right to judge. Because people take this, dude, you can't judge, only God could judge, and I get out of context. And I haven't read the whole scripture. What God was actually saying that if you're doing the same thing, you can't judge.
Yes.
But the righteous can take a stand, and the righteous can judge.
Amen. Amen.
By the fruit you know. Amen.
So it's the same thing. When I'm under the will of God, I can talk trash. Obviously, it's not my trash, it's God's trash. God put His word over His very name. So I'm nothing compared to the word of God. So that's His name and His word on the line.
That's right.
But the minute you step outside of the will of God, death is possible.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not real anymore. I said death is possible.
Yes.
Not just an accident, not just a trip and fall or loss of a job. Death is possible. Eternal damnation is possible.
Amen. Amen.
You see, God is always pursuing us, but He never spoils us. We have too many hyper-grace mentality today in the church.
Come on. Come on.
All we talk about is love, love, love. God love. There's two sides of the story. Cut yourself on the arm right now. The healing on your arm is God's love. But the scar is your accountability.
That's right. That's right. Amen. That's right. Yes. Amen.
No one talks about the accountability of God. Only God loves. You see, God holds us accountable. Always.
Yes.
Now back to the scripture. I'm not straying. You see, Abram, before he became Abraham, got big-headed.
Yes.
Yes, he did. I fasted and prayed and God gave me confirmation. So guess what? He's my boss. You ain't got to agree.
That's right. Go ahead. Amen.
Abram got big-headed. In verse 6, Karan, help me out. In the prior verse, Abram was just laying on his back, looking at the stars in the sky and everything. And God said, yeah, what you see? And Abram believed in verse 6. Abram believed, and his faith, the gift of faith is a gift, you know. The gift of faith was counted unto him for righteousness. So being that the gift of faith was counted unto him for righteousness, he didn't have to be intentional anymore. I already got my approval. The state bishop already came to church, came to youth camp, and saw me preach. I don't need to fast and pray anymore. Because he's the highest in New Jersey that can get me to the next level. Hello, somebody. I'm the only bass player, so I don't have to practice on Thursday. I show up on Sunday. There's no competition anymore. I got my affirmation. Kids, you know what? I did my chores and I got the money for the Jordans. I ain't got to do chores next week. Because them J's don't get old for 3 months.
Come on.
Abram got big-headed.
Yes.
Abram asked God, after he got big-headed, how can I inherit the land? In terms of us, how can I inherit God's perfect will for my life? God said, okay, just continue to do my sacrifices. Lord have mercy. God, how can I get a house? Son, just continue to be a good husband. Continue to be a good father. Continue to be faithful to the church. How do I get this raise, God? Just continue to do the stuff the way that I've asked you to do it in the past. But Abram, because he already received God's confirmation, God's promise, God's approval of his faith, all of a sudden got nonchalant about the way he went about God's sacrifices prior. Show me the verse where it spoke about when he was doing the sacrifices. One before that. Yes. Abram, the way you inherit this land is continue to do things the way that you were accustomed to doing. So the Bible says that Abram took unto him all these and divided them in the midst. Dividing them in the midst means to cut the sacrifice straight down the middle. So if I'm a lamb, I'm supposed to be cut straight down the middle.
Yes.
And laid each piece one against one another. But the birds he divided not. God, how do I inherit the land, God? How do I inherit your perfect will for my life? Continue to do what I okay. Good husband checked. Good father checked. But when it comes to ministry at church, I got bored.
Come on.
You see, God is a peculiar God, and God expects us to be peculiar people.
Amen.
So everything that we take part in concerning God has to be peculiar. Peculiar means one. That means there's no other way. There's no other being. There's no other nothing. Peculiar means one. Just like everyone in this world has the same DNA and there's no match, that's how God expects us to be done.
That's right. Come on.
So Abraham, he got the cows, he got the goats, and all that stuff. But once he came to the birds, he got tired.
Right.
You know, I don't have to chop this because it's little. That's the word right there. Because it's little. I don't have to pick up the trash in the front yard because I'm not on the stage picking it up so no one's looking. It's little.
Come on now.
I don't have to do it. I don't have to respect you. You ain't my mom. You ain't my dad. Nah, it's little. So let me just chop off this little head real quick because God already approved and God already showed me the promise. Let me hurry up and get through the sacrifice.
Come on now.
Next verse. And when the fowls came upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. Next verse. And when the sun was down, see, sometimes David got caught the same way too. We expect God's wrath to be a year later.
Come on now.
You know, let's just do this real quick because no one sees and pray for forgiveness. And if anything, if I just repent by next week, nothing will happen to me.
That's right. My God. More chances.
If I just pray this quick prayer and make sure the next morning I'm in church, nothing is going to happen to me. And when the sun went down the same day,
Yes.
you take me for a fool, Abram? I didn't even rename you yet to Abraham. This is the beginning stages. A deep sleep fell upon him. And lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. See, Abram could feel the blessings at his fingertips. I used this one time when I used to teach. I used to tell my kids that there's no such thing as multitasking. Because one task is going to be a detriment to the next one. Dia teacher too, she'll tell you that. So I already got my fingertips on the blessing. So let me just hurry up and get through the sacrifice. But God said no. Everything that I have assigned, at this point, Abram was a grown man. So he's been doing sacrifices for a while. That's the reason why he got to where he got. Because he got the gift of faith for free. But the things that he did to get his inheritance, it was because of what he did, what he showed God. So you were accustomed to all the sacrifices, cutting them down the middle, but you just got bored when you got to the bird. So Abram now went to sleep. And that's it. And now you see certain things in the Bible, you have to really ask God for a revelation. Obviously not everything is just here on the platter. Because I'm going to the gospel too. Like I said, I fasted and prayed and I got God's confirmation to talk to him and talk to me. And I don't remember coming across a reason why Israel was in slavery. I mean, I came across reasons, but it never got back to Abram. See, the only thing that was emphasized in the scripture, a lot of people probably don't even know this, they only know verse 6. He believed in his calendar for righteousness. He made songs out of it, preached sermons on it, everything. Make it the theme of conventions. But I'm trying to put two and two together here. So because of Abraham being lackadaisical, that same, I preached before that on the will of God for your life don't change, but you can impact how you get there.
That's right. Come on. Amen. Amen.
The will of God for your life, for Abram's life, was written before he was born. But in terms of getting there, is in his hands. So 400 years of slavery could have been avoided had Abraham put some peculiar, had he been peculiar with the sacrifices of one little bird.
Come on now. Come on now.
Talking about the big things. For much is given, much is required. The things that you can see me do, I'm going to come here and practice and do all that stuff so you can see the best of me or something, because it's a big thing. What about the small thing that you don't see?
That's right. Come on now.
Talking about being fair and being evenly distributed.
Yes. Come on.
Because when he got to that place where he was supposed to finish off the perfect, matter of fact, this is an icing on the cake. You know, God, you promised this. Okay, Abraham, all you got to do is this. Just do this, and it's yours. Lord have mercy. Just do the sacrifice, and it's yours. But because God already gave him a sneak peek, what is going to work for him? You see, when I was dating, I wouldn't even say dating, when I was unsaved doing things I had no problem doing. If a chick approached me, she would never get my attention, ever. Ever. You give me your number, you will never get my attention. You try to do things that a wife is supposed to do, you will never become my wife. What is there to work for?
Come on.
That was my philosophy. If you show me too much, okay. Why do I have to work for you?
That's right.
So God showed Abram too much. He approved his righteousness. He approved his faith and said that it's righteous. And because of your faith, the stars that you see, your people are going to outnumber those. So God already showed him approval. So now Abram now treating God like the little chick that's trying to talk to him. Why do I have to work for something you already showed me?
Come on. Amen.
It's his God put his word over his very name. He doesn't go back on his word. All right, it's yours. But I'm going to teach you a lesson. God holding people accountable. I'm going to teach you a lesson, Abram. This is what's going to happen for your people. And the thing that baffled me is like, nothing happened to Abram but a bad dream. That's it. And I try to correlate that to my own life. You know, I didn't have the best of life. My life was tough. It was crazy. And it wasn't because of anything I did. I didn't ask to be born. You know, it's the decisions that were made before me allowed me to fall into certain things. So it's the same thing with the children of Israel. The one that got y'all blessed in the first place is the reason why you were in slavery as well.
Amen.
Nothing happened to Abram but a bad dream. It caused the children of Israel 400 years.
Yes.
400 years
Yes.
of slavery.
Yes.
You can have this thing, it's fine, I'm going to take it back. But I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you that when I give an assignment, when I give you a gift, when I do something, every moment, the Bible said, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
Amen.
Fear and trembling, your own. Your own. Not a corporate salvation, not you and your friend, you and your wife, you and your kids, whatever. Your own. You know, so because you didn't take my sacrifices and the thing too, listen to this, these are things that Abram's been doing. So all of a sudden you got bored of doing the things that you know you're supposed to do. You don't need a teacher. You've been doing this. But let me just slack off a little bit because you already showed me the promise. And I know I'm talking to some people today that there are people that I or anybody else that sit next to you cannot bring into the kingdom, and only you. But it's your choice if you wanted them to go through 400 years of slavery first.
That's right. Come on.
And just like the children of Israel, where a lot of them died before they received the promise, but the promise is still there.
Yeah.
Think about it.
My God.
Because of decisions that were made by someone who was supposed to watching out for their souls. They died while the promise is still there waiting for them. So it's your choice. And I must say, you may not be as lucky as Abram and just get a bad dream.
Right. Come on, Jesus.
Slavery may reach you too.
That's right.
Death may reach you too. Go to verse 15, Carl. Verse 16 says, but the fourth generation, they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So you see, that's the other side of the spectrum about the love.
Yes. Come on, do it.
But before love and grace took place, repentance happened.
Yes. Amen.
You see, the accountability came first before this love that you so freely talk about. God loves everybody. The accountability led up to that. The Bible said in Proverbs that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom.
Amen.
And that's because the Bible said that nothing could separate you from the love of God. No hell, no grave, no nothing, no mom, no dad, there's no sin on this earth that can separate you from the love of God.
Yes.
Nothing. But you know what's above the love of God? The Word of God. The Word of God. The Bible said that without holiness, no one shall see God. No one shall see God. That doesn't change His love. Abram.
That's right.
That doesn't change His love.
That's right.
I still love you. You love your kids, but you discipline them, don't you? And why you do that? Because you love them. Hand in hand. Nothing shall separate you from the love of God. So God is always pursuing you regardless. God never stopped pursuing. God never stopped pursuing. You read throughout the Bible. I've never seen a wicked people in the children of Israel. But God continued to pursue them regardless. The Holy Spirit stands at the door and knocks. Every time. No matter where you're at, He knocks. Because God knows as long as you're on this side of the earth, as long as you're still above ground, there's still a chance. There's still a chance for you to inherit the promised land. Whether it takes you 400 years or not, He didn't change His mind about the promised land. And as long as you're still alive, if Egypt did not kill you, the promised land still awaits.
Amen. Amen.
Now, how do we inherit the promised land? In today's day, in this age, Romans 10:9, through Jesus Christ. That's it, through Jesus Christ. I know I was a victim of this growing up Jamaican where, Jamaicans got their own perspective of being saved. If I was drinking last night and I'm saved today, I ain't going to be drinking tomorrow. That's not God's perception of being saved. Jamaicans have this thing where, I got to get myself together first before I come to church. We talk to sinners like they're saved people.
That's true.
Sinners got to come here first and meet Jesus and Jesus work on them.
Yes. Come on.
It's hard enough living their own conviction. They can't live theirs and yours.
That's right. That's right. Come on. Amen.
It ain't nothing but a belief. It ain't nothing but verbalizing. You say with your mouth and you believe in yourself.
Amen.
And then you allow God to do the rest.
Amen.
You allow God to do what humans can't do. You allow God to do that what we can't do. You You allow God to change you. See, now the secret sauce is, you're the secret sauce. You have to be true to yourself and God.
Amen.
Because God knows your best.
That's right.
So if God is not getting your best, if you neglect to complete that last piece of the sacrifice, 400 years of slavery awaits.
Come on. Amen.
That's not giving God your best.
That's right.
And then God will work on you. I believe God is calling us to a place where He wants us to be. God is calling us back on track. Because it's the promised land promise did not change. It awaits.
That's right.
And I believe we have some survivors of Egypt here today. We have some survivors who, you know what, they changed their minds in the middle of Egypt. Because I'm going to inherit this land. There's some Joshuas in here today who were one of the better ones that came out of Egypt. Bold and courageous. I spoke about earlier about being under the protection of God. Joshua knew that he had the protection of God. He wasn't afraid of nothing. He was ready to kill everything. You guys all know the story. He approached the angel, ready to chop his head off. Whose side are you on? The angel said, I'm on the Lord's side. Listen to this though. Joshua said, because you're on the Lord's side, what does the Lord have to say to me?
Come on.
The angel said, take off your shoes, Joshua. Take off your shoes. And you don't know what that means, because the place where you are standing is holy ground. Because God is there. What am I saying? God is not just up in heaven watching you fight. He's right next to you, holding your hand. He's right next to you, just waiting for you to accept. Accept this covering. This covering is free. Just like the gifts, this covering is free. Just accept it over and over again. Did Israel repent? Then they went back. But God is still waiting for them to repent. Every time they came back to God, God was there waiting. Even when God was chastising them, you know, I have to be God. I have to be God so I can help hold you accountable. But lo and behold, turn around and see who's waiting. Turn around and see who's waiting. That's where God is calling us back this morning. That's where God is calling us back this morning. It's not complicated. It is not complicated. It's simple. Believe in yourself. Receive Jesus. God, I know I'm a sinner. I need to be saved. Forgive me of my sins. I receive your Son, Jesus. I believe that He came to this earth, died, and rose on the third day, and He is my Lord and Savior. That's it. And then God begins to do the work. I'm going to close with this. And I'm going to ask for every Israelite in this room who are or were in Egypt and now know that the promised land is still a way to come to this altar. Let me repeat that. I said every Israelite in this room that were or is still in Egypt and know that the promised land is still away. Know that the promise of God still does not change for your life. He's just waiting on you to accept that. To come here. I was on Facebook the other day and I was watching this thing about this deaf comedian. And after she went through every obstacle that she went through in her life about having a disability and always being reminded that she had a disability, and she tried to overcome those obstacles over and over again. She finished with this quote. She said, you have this one shot. You have one shot of this thing called life. What will you do with it? That's my message to you this morning. You have one shot at this thing called life. What will you do with it? There's a heaven and there's a hell waiting. And a lot of us know the Bible. We know what God requires of us. So there's no excuse for everything. For anything. Pardon me. So like I said prior, if you believe that you were in a place like Egypt, but now you know that the promise still awaits, you want to make a declaration today that I will inherit the promises of God. Come to this altar.